Ladies and gentlemen, children of the interwebs out there, Sebastian Envy, strong style, cinephile. So, Armageddon, part 5 of The Flash. Let's geek about it for a scant few minutes, and I know I have this thing in front of me, and I'm going to get to that. So, let's say this is, because I said I wasn't going to judge Armageddon until I saw all 5 parts and judge it as a whole. So let's say this right here is the landing of Armageddon, right? So, as I said, it depends on how they stick the landing. So this right here, this is the landing, and this is the Flash. Not sticking the landing. So, like I said, let's geek about it for a scant few minutes. Now, there's a couple cool things in this episode. We finally got the gold boots, as they were used in the final battle against Despero, who turns out to be like the final boss. And Barry basically like rider kicks Despero into oblivion, or he gets sucked in back up to somewhere, whatever. The basic crutch of this episode, the gist of this episode, was the fact that Thawne comes back to the Flash to ask for help because Thawne messed with the timeline. And now that Barry, using the time stone, fixed the timeline is trying to basically erase Thawne. So on one hand, I don't understand how saving Thawne, which they do, would stop time from trying to take Thawne away. But that's neither here nor there. That's just some of the stuff that gets wrapped up with the fact that, oh, it's a superhero show. It's a comic book show. It's just things just happen for reasons. But there's this debate about saving Thawne, and while Iris, Caitlin, and Barry are on board with like just letting him die, because they're not killing him, they're just not saving him. It's like the whole thing in Nolan's first Batman movie where he's like, I don't have to kill you, but I don't have to save you either, and he just dips out of the train while Ra's al Ghul like plummets to his death. He didn't cause it, but he didn't exactly save him either, and that's the whole thing here, where the debate is like, at least in my mind, it was like you're not killing him, like all this stuff about just letting him die, blah blah blah. Like time is just trying to fix things that Thawne broke, and there's nothing wrong with letting it happen. Caitlin, in her exchange with Thawne, had just grew a spine, and I love that exchange. How Thawne was just kind of basically laying out this stuff that he knows about Caitlin, and Caitlin kind of shows that she's just a little bit different. Some of the stuff he said was true, but she's just still a little bit different. And I liked how they said, hey, Allegra, Chuck, like you guys do not know what we know about Thawne, and you have not experienced what we have experienced with Thawne. So yeah, if we want to let him die, we're just gonna let him die. You know, that's just what we're gonna do. And then Joe shows up and gets mad at them contemplating that decision, saying that if they're heroes, they have to save everybody. If there's a chance to save everybody, they need to save everybody. It's the whole thing about just like, and he brought being a cop. And I kind of, once that exchange happened, I was kind of like, okay, I can see it from that standpoint. Because I was firmly in the camp of let him die because he's just a asshole. So why are you gonna save him? To come back and kill you? Because that means anything that he does, any damage that he causes, any destruction. And I really hope that they, even if it's just a one like throwaway line or whatever, they address the fact that whatever Thawne does when he comes back, because he always comes back, anybody he hurts, maims, kills, or whatever, that's on them for not taking care of the problem. Just something that just cops have to deal with, first responders have to deal with, military people have to deal with, because they're standing up for freedom. What people do with their freedom is not always something that the soldiers who are fighting for their freedom agree with, but it's their freedom to do it. Their freedom to be a douchebag, their freedom to be a racist, misogynist, whatever. It's their freedom. It's not right, but it's their freedom to do it. Cops, they have to save those same like racist, bigoted, misogynistic, just whatever, just ill types of people if they can save them. First responders, if they get called to, you know, a Proud Boy needs a Heimlich maneuver, they're gonna give it to him because that's what they're supposed to do, even if they don't agree with this dude and his beliefs and his actions and all that kind of stuff. So I understand that from a certain point of Joe saying, regardless of how you feel about the dude, it's your obligation to save the dude because you call yourself a hero. You're a good person. That's what good people do. So that's the whole thing that's being bandied about like this episode. And I'm kind of like, now that I sit there and actually talk about it out loud, I can kind of lean either way. I mean, I'm just more of kind of a dick to begin with, so I'm leaning in the camp of let him die because I'm thinking of, because in the present you can do that good And actually, this turned out to be a good philosophical type thing. Unintended consequences of a weak CW episode. Because you're saving him for the now, the here and now. But you're not taking into account the damage they will do, not if, when they come back, because you know they will come back, because they always come back. So it's kind of like, I don't know. Was I wrong? Did they stick the landing? No, not really, because at the end of it, they decide to do something about it. Despero's like, no, Thawne could come. Despero is thinking what we're all thinking, what I'm thinking in this instance, that he could come back. He will come back. You took away his speed, he's gonna get it back. He always does. So Despero's me in this episode, basically, and my side of things. And they're like, nope, gotta stop him. Despero whammies Mia, because she's in the present to look for her brother. She just is tracking some temporal stuff, latched onto Thawne, and then came in and then interrupted him in the police station when he was just trying to get Flash's attention, and then she gets almost like vibrated to death, which she was just standing there with her bow and arrow. Did she not like think that he was going to like be able to curb stomp her in like 2 seconds? Like, come on now. And it was interesting that they used this episode to kind of give us what Mia's been up to, because at the tail end of the failed Green Arrow and the Canary's pilot, her and William were knocked out. William was taken. She's apparently been looking for him for like 2 years. Seeing this episode kind of made me want to see a little bit more of Mia, but in the grand scheme of things, we had like 8 years of the Green Arrow. There was no reason to give us more. Even if it's chick Green Arrow, daughter Green Arrow, we didn't need another Green Arrow. We had like 8 years of him. Like, the bloom is just fully off that rose. So, sucks as I like some of the individuals involved from an actor standpoint who are involved in the pilot, but I'm not really broken up about the fact that we didn't get it. So Mia shows up, says, hey, you should kill Thawne. Like, you're gonna regret it if you don't. She gets whammied by Despero and easily put down. She gets stopped with the power of love, the power of the pep talk, whatever. Despero's gonna blow up the city, regardless, to get rid of Thawne. Barry stops him. Chester pulls out this piece of plot convenient tech that turns out to be the gold boots that he uses to rider kick Despero, and all is saved. All is well. Damien Darhk is still around for whatever reason. He has a good couple exchanges with Barry and with Joe, and he gives Joe the time stone, and then he fades away, which is a sad moment for Nora, who thought she was getting her dad back, but he's not. So that's basically the gist of it, and then we got a tease for what's going to happen next year with Nora and Bart coming back to save Flash for some reason, because time is messing with things again, and they have to make sure that he gets his powers. At least that's what we think. That's what we speculate. So it is what it is. We'll find out next year. As I said, fairly decent 5-part series. I liked it because it gave us just real concise focus, a specific issue that they had to deal with. The people that came in from the outside kind of were worthwhile in some cases. Like I said, having Batwoman on there was kind of like a throwaway type of thing. If she wasn't there, wouldn't have changed anything. Having Sentinel, God, it's so stupid, on there didn't really change anything. It was cool. I'm all for crossovers. I say that many, many times across many, many videos. I'm a fan of them, whether it's stuff with Power Rangers, stuff with Kamen Rider, stuff with the Chicago television universe, with Law and Orders. I just love when shows cross over. You know, Magnum PI, Hawaii Five-0, and Hawaii Five-0, NCIS, and just, I love all that stuff. So I'm a sucker for crossovers. But in the grand scheme of things, if they did not have certain people in these episodes, would it have mattered? No, not really. So it was just fan service, and that's cool. This series was a lot of fan service and some good things. It felt like the climax of it was like part 4, and then part 5 is just, I don't know, it's kind of spinning its wheels. It's batting some cleanup or whatever. I would have, if they would have just had Armageddon be 4 parts, and then this bit with Thawne take place, well, I guess you couldn't because of Despero. You could have had Despero dealt with in the same way in somewhere in part 4. So you redo part 4. You have Despero ultimately dealt with, Thawne ultimately dealt with, and then you could save this for episode, 10, 11, 12, 13 or something, or even something just to kind of give us some Thawne before the end of the season. It's like episode 19, 20 or something like that, and then you can go into the 2-part, whatever the finale is going to be. So you could have done that, but as a whole, 5 parts, Armageddon was pretty okay. nothing really super spectacular. Had some good moments, had some lazy spinning their wheels types of moments, had some cringe-worthy moments, but it's the CW. It's what we've come to expect at this point. But overall, I'm happy with it and kind of curious to see with Nora and Bart coming back what shenanigans they're going to get up into and how that's going to affect the present. The time stone, is that going to come into play later on with Joe? Just what is Joe going to do? Because he's not a cop anymore, so what's his purpose on the show? Again, if this is the last season that we have Joe, that's fine. If him and Cecile just decide to move out of Central City for greener pastures, lighten up the cast load, lighten up that bloated cast, I'm fine with it. Let it happen. It's okay, people. You don't have to be like, oh, I'm gonna stop watching the show because Joe's no longer there. Just come on now. Like, it's just, come on now. Anyway, those are some of my thoughts on Armageddon Part 5 and Armageddon as a whole, scattered as they often are, more so in this case than others, but hey. What do you guys have to think? Let me know in the comments below. Follow me on social media. Talk to me there. Talk to me here. Till next time. And this week we got some Spider-Man No Way Home. I've already seen reviews. I've already seen a ripped little bootleg recorded version of the trailer for Doctor Strange and the Madness of the Multiverse. I think that's the title that we're going to see. So it's interesting. This will be a fun week. We got some more Hawkeye today. I'm just going to do Hawkeye just as a whole series, I think. But yeah, some fun stuff coming along. Till next time, though, let us geek.